Hanging from a string in my mama's kitchen back in the hard time days was a little old stone about the size of an apple. It was smooth and worn and gray. There wasn't much food in my mama's kitchen, so whenever things got tight, mama boiled up some water, put in the stones, and said, "Let's have some soup tonight." I swear you could taste the chicken and tomatoes and the noodles and the marrow bone. But it really wasn't nothing but some water and potatoes and a wonderful, wonderful soup stone. Don't go anywhere. You better hit that subscribe button if you haven't anyway. uh, Prepping songs, you know what I mean? Like songs that kind of take you back. My grandfather, rest his soul, but my grandfather, he lived the Great Depression, and he shared with me a lot of those the old ways, the old ways of doing things, and he had a lot of stories to tell. He's a good man. He served in World War II, and he told me stories before hitting beaches and all these things. Uh, it's just it's crazy the different cultures, the different things. Uh, they so the things that I'm hearing now, it's just very alarming to see when you start incorporating folks like Bill Gates back into the picture, and that gets me a little alarmed when I start seeing these types of things. And then you've got your Mark Zuckerberg and all these other folks, they're all coming into play. And now hearing about bills having to be passed to avoid what could come with your health. And it's like the alarming stuff from uh, the Kennedy ordeal, and uh, you know, folks should have known these things many, 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 many years ago. Like my wife, being a trauma nurse, she told me, throughout every pregnancy she had, we have four children, throughout every pregnancy, and she gives me details on vaccinations. What vaccinations should you have and when you should have them? And it's like, if your kids are not going to be going to daycare, you probably don't need all this stuff. You don't need to stuff them full of all these pharmaceuticals when it's not really necessary, because they're not going to be exposed to as much being in your home, that type of environment. So there's just a lot of things that we said, hey, we don't need that. But we would get lectured through each child that we had about, oh, well, you should probably, blah, blah, blah. No, we don't need that one because of this. We're not anti-vaxxers. We're just, there's a certain amount that should be applied as you get older. And that's the way we did it with all four of our children. And the recent one, now we have a toddler, so that we're going through that now with that one. Said that to say all this. So, like, one of the things that he had mentioned that got everyone's attention was Tylenol. Tylenol being linked to autism. And that was a known thing for many, because if you know scientifically, like medically, if, like my wife had told me, it's like, well, it affects the liver and all this other stuff. So yes, of course, it could possibly be that, and that's the reason why my wife, she steered away from taking Tylenol, and just as any doctor would probably be able to tell you that, but no one wants to listen anymore. Like, to people who have degrees, who actually studied microbiology and all these other things that affect the body, and like for me, example, being able to tell you like the microns of a face mask won't stop any type of virus that's floating through the air, because it's like throwing a marble at a chain link fence. That's about the same scenario, because like myself, I had to study NBC, I had to study I had to study all these different things, and I had to go to college for the Marine Corps to be able to tell people about respirators and things like that. You know, RPPM manager, you have to be certified to do these things. You have to tell people what they can, what stops and what doesn't. All these things that we know have been just completely ignored. And now all of a sudden, everybody's starting to figure things out. Oh, well, you know, that's probably a bad idea. It's like the Tylenol thing. Now, seeing all these other cats coming into the picture is kind of freaking me out. See, we use a lot of things. I mean, there's like MK Ultra. There's like all these different things. These scientific programs that have been used to experiment on people for years, and we've used them in combat, releasing types of metallic dust that the enemy can breathe in. That we can actually see them better, and all these types of secret operational functions that we can do that are not ever talked about. The things that we can drop, starving a country and then feeding them something like it's like you get a country where they're like food deprived. You're at war. You're at war. You're at war. So what do you do to your enemy? It's like, well, you starve them, and then well, they're hungry. You know, everyone's hungry. They need food. So what do you do then? Then you get in you bring in one of your allies and say, and you play the good guy and you drop some food in there that's poisoned. I want you to put something in there that's just going to take a little while to catch up with them. So we'll check on them in like half a year or so and see how they're doing. Well, half of them are dead, or all of them are dead. You know, they've caught these bad viruses and stuff. It's just techniques of war. It goes back to the Nazis and everything else. You think about some of these things. They poisoned the water. The Nazis would poison the water, and we had to have a chemical treatment test to be able to test the water to make sure we weren't going to be poisoned. But they could do that to anyone at any time. They could drop in anything, a variant of this COVID, right? So it's like, how else would you fight this war? Well, I got an easier way. You know, the nukes aren't scaring anyone, so we're not going to fire those off. That's a mutual insured destruction. So when you got one place over here, it's like, well, if I blow them up, then they're going to blow me up too. So, or you have the fallout you got to deal with. So now, what else can we do? What else can we do? So they've already discovered now that you can put vaccines in lettuce. I am not lying to you. You can Google it for yourself. You can look this stuff up, read all about it. There's even freaking briefings from Congress and everything else. There's video galore. And Tennessee put a stop to it. They found a way to put vaccines, pharmaceuticals, in your produce. So you want to have a salad to lose weight, or, you know, you're trying to eat healthy. I'm going to have an orange today. Well, they have found a way to put all kinds of fun stuff in your produce, in your lettuce, in your tomatoes, whatever it is, a cucumber, I don't care. Whatever it is that's in the produce aisle, your hot tamale peppers are now going to have vaccines in them. And their main focus was COVID-19. Believe it or not. We're in the stages now that are just unbelievable. We're just walking out all kinds of fun, ridiculous stuff that's going to harm us. And we got Jade Him freaking 2025 going on. And everybody's just sitting, well, everything's great. Everything's swell. It's a hunky-dory day. But now you're going to be going to your produce section. We're the only state that actually published anything that says, hey, you cannot put pharmaceuticals in our lettuce and tomatoes and, you know, our apples or whatever it is that we have that, you know, in the produce section. They're going to put it in the meat too. It's all going to go. You got pork, chicken, turkey, beef, you name it. It's all going to get injected into the animals over time. It's going to be one of those things where as they get processed. And, you know, in another thing, like your local farmers and things like that, like for us, that most of these crops and stuff don't end up in the grocery store. They don't end up in the grocery store. They go to charities and stuff. And that's one thing they've done is drowned out. They've ended a lot of the programs for the farmers So it's going to drown a lot of them out. Now, why would they do that? Why would they do that? And why would Bill Gates be in the picture? What has Bill Gates been doing? He's been adding funky stuff to food for a long time. He's been making Beyond Meat, weird stuff, the fake freaking hamburgers, they're Beyond Meat, we're gonna be having 3D printed freaking steaks and stuff that are like filled with all kinds of funky weird stuff. This has got everything you need. Well, how much do you need to eat in your entire life? So you're going to be, what portion sizes of the vaccines and pharmaceuticals are going to be shoving in our food that we're going to be eating over time? It's just a little odd. Like, how much lettuce am I going to be? Am I going to get like overdosed on the pharmaceuticals that they've crammed into my lettuce? And they're going to start, with the baby food and everything else. You got a baby, they're going to start kind of nibbling a little bit of vaccination stuff going on in your baby food. You're over there like, oh, I think my kid wants to have peas and carrots. Get your little container of peas and carrots. And the peas and carrots now have COVID vaccinations in them. Probably over time, probably clog their arteries and cause them to have a stroke at an early age. See, I'm a little bitter about some of that stuff because, I lost my father-in-law and my dad died from it as well. All of them were fully vaccinated and they instantly had a stroke and I'm shut down just like that. And it was after all the vaccines and boosters and everything that they had just see. I'm unvaccinated, and that's the thing. But you know what? Being in the Marine Corps, I got shot up with all kinds of fun stuff. And those of you that joined know what I'm talking about. They I did like all the phases of anthrax. Like, I'll never need it, but I'm protected and safe from anthrax because I've had like 30 doses of that crap throughout my body because I was in wartime environments, for combat deployments. You end up in all kinds of weird places and they want to make sure that you don't get sick from everything that they try and throw at us. Because I was one of the guys that had to go out and decontaminate things for people. I was just one of those guys. I know all the bad stuff, all the things you can breathe in and die. I know all that fun stuff and I can tell you all about it. I've gave several video classes on that stuff. So if anybody wants to know more, I'm willing to share. But there's more than 99 ways to die. Yeah, there's a lot of different stuff that they can use in the air, in your food, and starving out a country and then dropping in some food and everybody's like, oh, thank goodness these people are helping us out, but they're actually on the other team and they're dropping in things that can get you sick and kill you. So it's just one of those things you've got to keep in mind with a lot of this stuff. And if you don't think that a lot of these other things are going to be used against you over time, like you don't think like the some of this stuff's not linked to other things, it is. So just keep that in mind before you go pick up that head of lettuce at your local supermarket. Anyways, think about it. God bless y'all. Please share and please subscribe if you haven't already. Share with your buddies. They need to know because they could get sick. God bless.